Hello, my Crystal Loves Texas podcast family. I hope everybody is doing great tonight. Thank you so much for waiting for us. We had some technical issues and then we had lots of stuff going on today, but we wanted to make sure that we got in here for you. Always with me is my trusted co-host, Rebecca Williams. And we've got Mary Grimes. She's from District 131, and she's going to sound off. And of course, we've got our special guest in here, who is Michelle Williams. She is president of Houston Education Association, and she is a candidate for Texas House District 127. And what area does that encompass, Michelle?
Part of Spring to Aldine Westfield, Humboldt, Tascasita, and Kingwood.
All those places. So that's a big area. She was just showing us her information, and that is a huge area, Michelle. It's a huge area, and it's not as predictable as people have thought.
It's not a Republican area for all those people, and you can quote me on it. I teach math, so I know how to read data. So
the stats. But Michelle, what we want to get into first here today, we want to talk a little bit about what people have been asking me about, what Rebecca has been hearing about, what you have been involved in and personally involved in within the last 3 weeks or so, about 3 weeks or so. But it's a hotbed of stuff happening over at the largest school district in Texas.
Yeah, always.
And one of the things that I was absolutely shocked to find out was that the open media, free media, is not going to be welcome in the House anymore. And that's scary for people who believe in freedom of the press and the ability of entities not to try to control their own narrative. What's going on with that? What have teachers been saying?
Well, first of all, let's be clear. They said they weren't talking to the media, but they sure found a way to comment on the article about me.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about with inconsistencies.
Yeah.
And, like he said, haters gonna hate. So he's taking his ball and going all the way home. And I just think it's ridiculous. You have a YouTube channel, you can't even get 500 views on them. Like, it doesn't make sense. People do not want to hear from Mike Mount. They don't.
There it is. And that's a result of what, Michelle?
Because it's the propaganda.
Yeah.
Parent Square is a propaganda tool, and he doesn't even understand. Nobody's listening or watching it. It goes to your phone, it goes to your email, and it's just propaganda. And he wants us to say, oh, you're doing such a great job. We're not going to do that because we know better.
And Michelle, for people, let's say hypothetically, someone has had their head buried in the sand for a year. Some of the things that have happened within the year, can you just kind of fill us in a little bit about what has happened with you as a career teacher? First of all, tell me how long you have been a career teacher.
This is my 26th year in education. And I started out as a first-year teacher in HISD. I started at Allen Elementary. It doesn't even exist. They tore it down.
Wow.
Yeah. Where
was that? Okay.
Around the corner from Kennedy Elementary, off of Cross Timbers.
Okay, North Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and your career advanced, and you went on to.
Yeah, I've done several things. So I stayed in HISD till. Well, no, I didn't. I jumped around. I was in that North Forest.
Wow.
Oh, man, I had to North Forest. I had to leave. So I ended up in Galena Park for I think 2 or 3 years, and then they started building out there, and the traffic
Yes.
got bad. And then I moved to my home district, Spring ISD. I was like, nah, I'm out.
And how long were you in Spring ISD?
Maybe a high second 1 year.
Okay, so for the most part, for all intents and purposes, your career has been in HISD.
Yeah, I've been in HISD the longest. I started, well, I went to Louisiana. I got burnt out.
Yeah.
So I said, let me try another state.
Right.
Louisiana was post Katrina.
Okay.
So I went down.
Oh, you had your hands full.
Yeah, down in East Baton Rouge Parish. And that's where I started advocacy work. I started with a organization called Stand for Children.
Right.
That's why, like, when people see me in the media, they taught me media training. They
Right.
taught me all the things. Like, we used to go speak to the Bessie Board, which is the equivalent of the Commissioner of Education.
Okay.
But we did all those things. That's how I learned a lot of stuff and how to do a lot of stuff that I do today.
Well, Michelle, we've seen a whole lot happen in HISD within the past 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long 3 years. It seems like it's been a whole lot longer.
Oh,
Yeah, it seems like it's been a whole lot longer because I left HISD in 2023 and a little bit before you and Rebecca left. But can you explain to me a little bit? And then I'm going to bring Mary in because she has a different perspective on this. But let me, I almost forgot to say this. All of us sitting here are present, or no, are former teachers within HISD.
But still certified.
Yes, yes, still certified. Yes. But we all have worked within the district. And I think that we would all agree that the district has had some challenges over the years. I don't think anybody would say it has not had challenges like any school district,
Right.
especially in an urban area. That's right. But not challenges that are insurmountable challenges, you know, if tried to be worked with in a reasonable manner. But we've seen within the last 3 years a lot of things happen. Mary, you were born and raised in the Houston Independent School District, although you were not a Houston Independent School District student.
Not always, right.
No.
Right.
But you were born in that Texas House District 131, right over behind the airport.
Mm-hmm.
And you still live there
I
today.
still live there. Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, that's in Houston Independent School District, right?
Yes.
You have a daughter now.
Yes.
Would you feel comfortable sending your daughter to an HISD school?
No.
And why not?
Oh, that's a loaded question. Boy, for the most part, at least even in my experience, I mean, I left the district in 2021 for personal reasons.
Right.
But even then, I did see a shift and a change that I did not really necessarily like or agree
Right.
with. When it comes to student outcomes, it was almost as if there had to be a magic wand
Yeah.
to just get them exactly where you wanted them to be so the data could look good. I always said this, and Rebecca knows, you can always skew data.
Yeah.
You can always skew it. In either how you get that data or even what that data is supposed to represent.
Right.
Okay. So even though the data may say one thing, what I saw every day did not match.
Wow.
And it did not make me comfortable.
Right.
This was, again, up until 2021. Now that I have my child, and mind you, now, even though I keep up with my teacher friends, I do, but there are plenty of parents now who are seeing a shift and a change that they also do not like, even with basic necessities such as air conditioning.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
You're not notifying the
Or
parents.
the lawn's being cut, mowed.
Right.
Right. He did say, and I quote, and I am quoting like Miles. He did say after that bond fell, I don't care. He said that adults play politics with children's lives, and unfortunately, children are going to suffer the consequences because of it.
But you know,
Which is a childish thing to do.
it is.
If you want to hear from the people and the people speak, you don't like it, okay, that's when you learn how to pivot.
That's right.
Okay? You
Right.
don't learn how to retaliate as we have seen in some recent years, with
Right.
more than just my moms.
Right.
I'll put it like that.
Yes,
Retaliation gets you nowhere.
Right.
that's right.
And especially when you have kids and you have new parents coming in,
Right.
their concern is, well, and in my case, my kid will be special ed.
Right.
Okay. So is my child going to receive the services that she needs? Am I going to have to be at that school every single day to be sure that she gets what she needs?
Yeah.
Am I going to have to check this teacher because this teacher's not able to? But honestly,
Or
it's
not
not just the
trained.
teacher though.
Yes.
Because the teacher is always start top down.
Yes.
So the teacher may be overwhelmed. Because even when I was teaching then, we would have large class sizes. Our class size is going to be crazy.
Right.
It's interesting that you spoke to that in terms of if your student needs special services, are they going to, not are they entitled to them, but are they going to be able to receive them? And are they going to be able to get them in a way that they should because there's a qualified person doing that? Michelle, can you speak to that a little bit? Have you had any experience with trying to provide services for students who needed special services, be it ESL or special education, and you've had your hand slapped?
Just only recently, I've been in HISD for a long time, probably about 15, 16 years, not consecutively,
Right.
but I've never had an issue with servicing special education children or my emerging bilingual students,
Right.
English language learners.
Yeah.
But up until recently, they encourage teachers to break laws, and teachers I know,
Who encourages teachers to break laws?
the principals, the assistant principals,
Current ones.
yes,
Yes.
they do. And I
In
don't,
what respect, Michelle?
they, so if a child gets extra time, instead of the principal standing on, this is the law, which people don't understand, the educator code of ethics is enforceable.
Absolutely.
It's live. It's not like they just exist just to say, oh, we have these codes.
Right.
No, it says at the top, these are enforceable. So the principals, the assistant principals are telling teachers, like I got a call, a teacher said that the principal said that they can't give the kids extra time no matter what their IEP says. That's what is taking place in HISD. And it's illegal and it's unethical. Because
Absolutely.
if the children didn't need the accommodation, it wouldn't be on the page.
That's right.
That's
right. And your ability to do this was called into question.
Yeah, so and what was so messed up about the situation that I was in, which HISD said I'm being subordinate, the student that had an IEP was a student that I retained the year before so that child could get the services.
Right.
So I was like, oh, the child is back in my class. I can now do what needs to be done to feel so he can
Have the service.
yeah,
Right.
so he can go on and be successful.
Right.
That wasn't happening. And that's really one thing that ticked me off because it's like, then what did we do all that work for
Right.
to get the student the services, and then you're not going to allow the child to get the service?
And that was my biggest pet peeve in HISD. You sit here and you have us do all of this, and if you sat and did any special ed paperwork for any amount of time, you know that paperwork
it's a
is
lot
a
of-
book about.
it is.
It's a lot.
very detailed.
Right. And if you miss a letter or a sentence, your paperwork can get rejected, which means that child has to go back another year for refiling. So what would get me was I have all of the documentation that this child needs these services. You take it to a grade placement committee. They clearly see that I have the documentation. And then they still say, well, no, we think. So if this is going to be you,
But basically what you're saying, Rebecca, I want to make sure that everybody who is watching or who will watch understands this. There is a certain thing as a social promotion.
well,
Is it happening?
yeah,
Has it been happening for a long time?
Social promotion. I mean, I think that has to deal with certain campuses. Not all campuses will participate.
But that's good to hear.
Yeah, but it just in my experience,
Right.
at the campuses that I've worked at, that was the experience.
Yeah.
You know, and then parents want to blame teachers for not, you know, and I'm not trying to get on my soapbox, I'm really not, but
Right.
parents want to blame teachers for the mishap with their kids. But what parents don't understand, we can only do so much. All of this stuff goes above us
Right.
for approval.
Yeah.
Right? So, and it's funny to me that administrators always escape, that they always escape blame when they're the ones that are doing it.
Okay, Michelle, have you ever been, while you've been in education in the largest district in the state, have you ever been in a situation where you were asked to change a grade?
No,
Okay. Have you ever been in that situation?
I have
Okay.
to.
And did you feel forced to comply?
I mean, yeah, I had no choice. I
Have
had no
you?
choice.
Yes.
Well, I can't say, let me say this, and this is just what I learned a long time ago, that when it comes to grading of special education students, you have to be so absolutely creative with the way that you allow them to display their knowledge. Okay, so that you can justify, because it is optimal for the districts to justify a student passing. Okay, that's optimal. No teacher or no administration, they don't necessarily want to retain a child. They don't. That's just the bottom line. So if a child is legitimately failing, I have been asked to go back and look and see if there is absolutely any way that you can show me that this student could display that knowledge in any way at all.
Well, the kids that I feel,
Yeah. And most of mine, what I ended up having to do was to say, okay, if they raise their hand in class, you know, 2 out of 5 times and they got the answer right, they could display some knowledge,
For me,
and this type of thing.
you can do that with children who participate.
Or who are present.
You can do that with children who participate.
Yes.
When you have 2 or 3 children
Who never come to class.
flat out or just flat out refuse,
Yeah.
I can't make anybody do work.
Right.
I know teachers have creative ways of doing it.
Yeah.
I don't, because I got 30 other kids. I'm not stressing myself out behind 2
Right.
that just absolutely won't do anything.
And that's the other layered part to education. It's like when you have so many kids, right? Because you're saying like 30 was like low for you.
Yeah, it was.
I have over 30 in all of my classes.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And you're talking about, like you said, the special education part of it, what they need, the accommodations. Truly, what's supposed to happen is you're supposed to have assistance with that.
Absolutely.
And
You should have someone in your classroom with you.
correct. And that doesn't always end up happening the way it's supposed to happen.
Right.
My issue is if everything is a standard and we're supposed to meet it, then also on the other end, everything that I need to meet that standard
Needs to be provided.
needs to be provided and put in place. You cannot tell me, okay, well, you're going to get a split class, we're going to get you some extra kids, and we're still going to evaluate you on how you teach, even though 5 of these kids that are in here belong to somebody else for a different period
Right.
and a different subject.
Right.
That's not fair.
And then other teachers would get help, but unfortunately, I didn't teach in a subject area where I could get the help.
Yes.
So because the focus
What
is
subject?
always
Yeah.
math and
Reading. Yeah.
math and reading.
Yeah.
Now, 8th grade social studies teachers could get the help because they take an 8th grade social
Yeah.
studies STAR test. 8th grade science teachers can get the help, but anybody that was not in a tested grade level, or the kid didn't have to take a state standard test for it, we never got the help. All the help was given to English teachers and math teachers. And if you would ask for help, they was like, well,
You have to make it work.
because they're not STAR tested. And that's not fair.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a in effect because of the heavy testing that we're up against. I've
Right,
always
right.
been in the core subject,
Yeah.
and it's just it's an effect because people are trying to survive the system. Look what is happening.
Yeah.
There's no reason why today Spring ISD should have 4 high schools and 3 of them failing.
Yeah.
That is called outlier data. So if you
Yeah.
put all the school districts in our high schools and see the failing, that's 75% of the schools, high
Right.
schools are failing. That should not be. That
Right.
means there's something wrong. So
Something wrong where, Michelle? Something wrong
It's-
with the teaching? Something wrong
no,
with the
there's something
testing?
wrong with the system.
Yeah.
Because if a system is based on accountability,
Right.
then when you're talking about statistics, we're talking about validity,
Yeah.
and is it reliable? It's
Right.
not reliable because STAR tests.
Yeah.
And then first of all, high schools only 40% of their stuff comes from STAR. That's it. So it's really not an accountability system. Then you got CCMR. Then you have your graduation rate. But here's the crazy thing, that one of those indicators is a lagging indicator.
And what does that mean?
It means that the data, they don't use the data from the current year.
Okay.
It lags 1 year. So say for instance, a high school, and I think it's graduation cohort
Okay.
that lags is the lagging indicator.
Okay.
So the cohort from the previous year will count for the current year.
How is that accurate?
I'm just telling you, it's not. So when we talk about accountability system, it's messed up. Just like with K-8. If you look at K through 5,
Right.
the only grade levels that really carry elementary schools is reading and math.
Yeah.
That's it. There's not any, because what people don't understand, 3rd grade is a proficiency only grade because they haven't had a test prior to 3rd grade to
Yes.
get growth.
Exactly.
So 4th and 5th grade carry the school for growth and for
Right.
proficiency.
Okay.
Growth indicators and proficiency.
Exactly. Well, Michelle, let me ask you this. You explained to us earlier in the year, which would have been last school year, how some districts, when the STAR scores were returned this year, the final scores, that some districts miraculously went from F ratings to A ratings. And
No, you can
the thing about it is, and these have been historically, because I believe you taught in one of the schools that was reported. These have been historically lower performing schools because of many reasons that had nothing to do with teaching, or had nothing to do with anything that was going on in the classroom, but more to do with many of the socioeconomic indicators in those particular areas.
Because my mouth dropped to the floor
Yes.
when I saw one particular middle school on the north side of town with an A rating,
Yeah.
and T.H. Rogers is at a C.
And Michelle, when you explain that, and I'm going to ask you to go back and explain that again, and you did it in such a succinct way, and you talked about cohorts historically being graded, and this time around it was looked at in a completely different way, and subsequently these results were broadcast to the public, and we're like, whoa, what happened? They must have gotten some stellar teachers and teacher apprentices and all of the like in there, who just really just blew everybody for the last 25 years out of the water. So can you explain us?
She said that.
So can you explain to us again how things may have been I don't want to use the word manipulated, but how things may have been reported this year that were maybe in contrast to the way that they have been reported by the state in years before?
Well, first of all, let's start off, and this has nothing to do with reporting. There is no magic happening in HISD, and I want people to understand that there's no Mickey Mouse, there's none
No
of that.
Tinkerbell says.
Yeah, that's not happening in Houston.
Uh-huh.
And we're talking about data. And,
Yes.
Um,
And star scores.
yeah, we're talking about star scores. So, and it doesn't make sense. No, it's a fractured system.
Right.
And set it apart from what HISD has going on. But the star, like one of the teachers was arguing with me, bless her heart, in the group, that Facebook group. She was saying that we're a big campus talking about Hilliard Elementary.
Right.
I said, baby, you're not.
Yeah.
And she said, yes, we are. They said we are. I said, I pulled up her, because they're domain. Domain
Right.
1 is can your kids pass the STAR test.
Right.
Domain 2 is growth.
Right.
And a parent said it when we were at City Hall, 90% of HISD schools are measured on growth, not
Right.
proficiency.
Right.
So, I had to tell the baby, y'all don't have 36% of your kids passing STAR. You're
Wow.
not, that's smoke and mirrors.
Right.
That is.
Right.
Well, Michelle, can you explain? Let me ask this question. Because a lot of parents have reached out to me, and I can't give them an explanation because I'm still confused about the NWEA. Because I don't even, I've administered the test, but I don't even know what it is and what it measures.
That's the map testing, right?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, so I've explained it like this. So, STAR is like the test that the teacher gives you. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's based on criteria for that grade level.
Right.
NWEA is like SAT. It's a national test. So say for instance, we're all fifth graders.
Right.
And we all take NWEA. Well, we're going to be ranked based on how we do.
Right.
Not based on the information. So you have two totally different tests. That's why I tell people NWA can inform how you're going to do on STAR, because STAR is a criterion reference test.
Okay.
And when children are performing above grade level, you can't capture that because we're not talking about grade level content. Okay. So you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's no correlation, although, HISD would disagree, but those are two totally different tests.
Okay.
And NWA, I wouldn't. To me, it's junk data.
Okay, Michelle, let me ask you this. And I'm going to ask you this from the perspective of a teacher, the perspective of a union leader, and the perspective of a candidate who would like to help to orchestrate many of the direction that we're going to be going in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Based on what you have observed, do you believe that the STAR test or any standardized test is truly going to be an indicator of a student's success in the future, or success in college, or success as a productive citizen? I'm asking you that because you didn't take the STAR test.
No.
I didn't take the STAR test. You didn't take the STAR test, did you? And you didn't take the STAR test.
I didn't take STAR, but
No.
I took
TAS or TAX?
Yeah.
Okay,
I didn't.
okay, that's right, because you went to private school.
Right. We did the Stanford 9. That's it.
Okay, and the thing about it is, I took the Stanford 9.
Oh, I took Stanford.
Yeah,
Right.
but the thing about it is, back in my day, ladies, there was something called the good old Iowa test. Okay. And an Iowa test was basically a test that was given to students on certain grade levels all over the nation to see exactly how they were. It was a comprehensive test of the things that they had learned and that they should know on their grade level, not necessarily indicative of what they learned in the state or anything like that, but something that was just a compulsory test. Okay. And people who are making these laws now, interestingly enough, They didn't take a STAR test because most of them are 50 plus. Okay.
Good point.
Okay. But many would say that they've gone on to become productive, successful citizens. In your opinion, is that STAR test that we are stressing about, to the degree that we are stressing about it these days, an indicator of a student's future success? And if so, tell me how.
I mean, I don't believe any. I believe, first of all, I believe in multiple data points. I believe in anecdotal data, which is qualitative data, and your quantitative data, which you put together to come up with some conclusion. I kind of,
So go back and explain, because I know that that our viewers are not going to know what annotative data is and qualitative data. So break it down in layman's terms.
so quantitative data are the
Uh-huh.
numbers, and it's the what the child is struggling with.
Okay.
And your qualitative data is your observations, and it tells the why. So you have the what
Okay,
and
gotcha.
the why,
Perfect.
put it together, and you're like, okay, how can we solve the issue?
Okay.
Because you have to
Right.
understand the why. For example, if a child is working below grade level,
Right.
we look at the numbers. Okay, we got this, but the why. But there are several things that could be taking place. Child is missing school.
Right.
Then why is the child missing school? Numbers don't tell you that. You have to dig into the qualitative piece, which is the why. You fix the
Exactly.
why, you fix the what.
Yes.
So, and I think for schools, if they don't go back to that, so
Right.
now they have teachers not really trusting their instincts. I run a membership for teachers, math teachers, and that's one of the things that I try to tell them, regardless of what's taking place
Right.
here in this good old 50 United States. Your observations are still very important. You don't need somebody who's not teaching and they
That's right.
still got baby's breath
Right.
coming in your classroom telling you what you're not seeing.
Right.
Though what you see is important. And even if you're a younger teacher, what you're seeing is important. You might want to run across someone who's more experienced, but what you're seeing is important and it's valuable.
Well, Michelle, let me ask you this. And then, Mary, I want to ask you this too as a teacher. And Rebecca, I would like for all of you to chime in on this. So, what you're saying is that that STAR test that's put in front of those students every April and May, a student who is going to school over in your old elementary school that you taught in over on the north side for many years, okay, who's going to school there, who may be a newcomer, okay, meaning that they've been here 5 years or less, okay, and who may have family members at home who may not speak this language as a native language. Family members or a mom or dad, perhaps both, perhaps only one, who is at work when that child gets home, who only has had an eighth grade or a 10th grade education in either here or in the country of their origin. Who this child is a child who has learned how to perhaps take care of siblings when they get home. And let's say this child is only 9 years old, okay? That STAR test that's set in front of that child who has those things to overcome before they step foot in your room is the same STAR test that a child who is over in the west part of town, who is from an affluent area, who has been in soccer and softball and dance since day one, who comes home to a two-parent home of people who are college educated, who can sit down and help them with their homework, who has had all of the accoutrement of students that students should have. They have. Oh, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. They also go to Kumon. Okay, that STAR test is going to be the same STAR test, bar none, that sits in front of both of those students in April or May, and both of those students are going to be graded in the same way and expected to matriculate in a successful way on that test, regardless of all of the other dynamics that play into getting them there on testing day.
Okay.
Is that the same STAR test?
It is.
Uh-huh.
But the thing about it is, and I don't know how well this is going to go over. I think we as African American, which I don't ever use that if that's what you call you, but Black people,
Right.
we have always known that we need to do 20 times better.
We were talking about that last
We
week.
know this, but yet we're not doing that.
Yeah.
We are not the same demographic as we've become complacent.
Right.
And although I don't agree with STAR tests, I tell all my children, and I've worked in underserved communities my whole career.
Right.
And I've done well with them. But the thing about it is my expectation of them is totally different than most. And I hold their parents accountable. When they're acting up, I call the parent.
Right.
When the parent is there.
Right.
But we have to do better. And at the end of the day, the tests are going to be there unless parents come together and say, we're tired of testing. Because it's not about the test, it's about the contract.
Right.
That's what it's about. But, we have to show up on the test. That test, we can't always make these claims that these children, a lot of our issues that we have in the Black and brown communities are sometimes self-inflicted. And that's,
and speak to that. Just explain what you mean.
So my mother, and I'm gonna tell you, I can just tell you from personal experience. My mama had her first child at 15.
Okay.
My mother had 6 children.
Right.
She had her last child at 27.
Right.
So my mother raised us. But at the end of the day, her expectation for us was a lot different. My mom did not, and I have 4 brothers.
Right.
I'm the 5th child, first girl after 4 boys.
Right.
So, I feel like even though her circumstances were not great,
Right.
she still tried to provide. And we do have some parents that
Absolutely.
like, they may work hard,
Yeah.
they might be the cashier, Jack in the Box, but they make sure their children.
Right.
That's the type of parent that we're looking for.
Absolutely.
And we support those.
Absolutely.
But the thing about it is sometimes what we send to our kids to school to disrespect teachers.
Right.
And the parents are backing the disrespect.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about. Those people, when we're talking about self-inflicted and the stereotypes, it perpetuates the stereotype that we are a certain one way or
that's right.
Hispanics are a certain way when it's not everybody.
Yes.
But that's what we see. But we need to come together better as a community and support. But we're fractured. We've been fractured since Martin Luther King got assassinated.
So I'm gonna go back to this question and ask you this. The same STAR test. Now, I'm not saying that particular scenario that I set up is actually it could be pretty standard of some of the kids that we've all worked with. Okay.
Yeah.
But many times that is of no choosing of the parent themselves. That may be the circumstances that they ended up in having to try to work and provide for their students. Okay, it is what it is. They're here today and they only have an 8th grade education, but they're working hard to get their student to a certain level so that student can do better. That student is not the only child. Many times there may be more than one child in the home. And that student may be the oldest one, and that student is 9 years old. And you may have 4 other kids underneath that student, or 3 other kids underneath that student, who that student is also responsible for helping to manage some of those other kids, which automatically is going to leave that student without the time to devote to their schoolwork like they could possibly have if they didn't have those other extra responsibilities. The only thing that I'm asking, and I just want, and ladies, please feel free to chime in on this. The same test and the same rigor is put in front of both of those children from those varied circumstances, and we're asking them to perform in the same way on that test.
So here's and I mean, so I'm divided on it because I
Mhm.
don't feel like because because a child comes from a certain circumstance,
Right.
that's not life. At
That's
the
true.
end, and that's my point.
That's true.
At the end of the day, these children have to perform. Now, where does the support from the school system come in?
Yeah.
That's the issue at hand, not
Right.
the child
Yes.
upbringing, or
Yeah.
where they come from, because we've done a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like we bought shoes for children.
Absolutely.
I've seen children that come from those circumstances.
We fed children.
Yes,
every week.
excel.
Yeah.
So my question is, do you
Lower the
lower
standards.
the standard? Because if you do that, you might as well do separate but equal.
Well, but then again, let's look at it in this way. You are 100% dead on when you say we got to hold kids to the same accountability. Okay.
Yeah.
However, when kids don't perform to a certain level, to that level of accountability, and we have put in and we've attempted to put in these extra measures to make sure that they are able to be successful, and they still don't perform, at what point do the powers that be, or at what point do the powers that be say, wait a minute, let's take a step back and look at whether or not the circumstances that these kids come to us with or in have a huge bearing on how successful this student can be, even given what we can provide.
Okay, so let me hop in on this point. Let me hop in here
Okay.
because I get exactly what Michelle is saying.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is not the
And I'm
accountability.
playing the devil's advocate
No.
here because I want people
No.
to hear.
It's not the
What we hear.
accountability piece. It's the
Yeah.
support piece.
Right. It's
Yeah.
support
The
piece.
difference was really and truly the difference between those affluent campuses and the campuses that we all have worked at
Yes.
is the support,
Absolutely.
right? They have a solid PTA,
Yes.
right? Whatever the school can't provide, guess what? The PTA provides.
Right.
We had to support our PTA on
Yes.
our kids.
Out of our own pockets. And I'm looking right at the camera because yes, I paid for a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You know, so whatever the parents lack or whatever the school lacks, the parent support system picked that up.
Absolutely.
The community support system picked that up.
And
Yeah, but
confirm
the
that.
school, but
Yeah.
you gotta hold these school districts accountable.
Yeah.
Because I've
I was
seen a
getting
lot of them people
Yeah.
play with the taxpayer money
Yeah.
and have Christmas in the foyer.
Yeah, no, but that's the
Right.
point I'm getting.
Yeah.
I should not have to go to the front office and beg for a ream of paper.
Yeah.
And then you tell me, well, there's nothing else we can do because we have to save this ream for next semester.
I'm gonna bring my You know what my mom used to do?
What's
She
that?
used to send out, especially because remember, she had not just eighth grade, she had the Algebra 1,
Right.
she had the geometry kids, okay? She would tell them, okay, well, in order for your child to get this credit, right? Because that's a high school credit, I'm gonna need y'all to send me some paper.
But here's
Right.
the difference. Your mama had the parents who could support it. The rest of us was on the island.
And that's why I say parents have to be held accountable.
Yes.
Because if your child can come with Jordans,
I agree.
your child
That's right.
can get a $5.
That's right.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
And buy a box of pencils.
But but that's the point that I'm making. It takes a village to run a school,
It does.
right? And everything can't be on us.
Right.
And this is the problem in public education. Everything starts and stops with teachers. Both of y'all are running for office. Why am I going to the polls every year to go vote? And then you tell me, well, you know what? This is your responsibility. Are you freaking kidding me? Like you're begging for me to come out and vote, and I do because I'm a responsible citizen.
Right.
But then I don't see the fruits and the effort of the vote. And it seems like everybody is kicking the can down the road. right? And everybody is shifting.
And you are definitely speaking from the words of a constituent.
Right.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
shifting blame.
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to kick in no money at state school districts. Y'all figured it out. Well, I need my check. So campuses, you figured it out. Well, principals, I want my check too. And I need my money and support. So teachers, you figure it out. And then because we're so close to the kids and we see the kids' faces every single
Kids
day.
and parents.
And we see
We go
the
into our
parents,
pockets.
we go into and it's and let me say this. I am not saying for one hard second that teachers should not support students and parents.
Right.
Because I don't think nobody went in their pocket more than me
Right.
in a lot of instances. But what I am saying is that at some point, you're suffocating the very people that are working directly with the children. Everything is on us. I hear so many teachers be like, oh, I want to be a principal. Oh, I want to be assistant principal.
Yeah.
Oh, I want to be a principal. But it's
Yeah.
like, do you really? Are you trying to get into the office so you don't have to work? Or, you know,
Be a yes person.
to be a yes person because,
Yeah.
you know, nobody wants to get in there and support us. Like really truly give us the support that we need. And I'm not saying all parents because all parents can't. That's just the reality.
That's right.
You even got parents in affluent schools who can't.
That's right.
Because they working and all of this other stuff. But what I am saying is that what's lacking is support. The difference between an affluent child and that child who cannot or who is not performing is support. And
Yeah.
we don't have it. You have teachers banding together and trying to have a bandwidth to support a bunch of kids with no principals. And it's not all principals, because some principals will get in there and roll up. Some
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
get up there and roll up their sleeves and do what they got to do. But it's not enough.
Right.
Well, let me speak on something I think we talked about a while back too. There's been a huge disconnect between district and community for a long time.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
just serious.
Yes.
Now, if district
Wow.
really cared about student outcomes,
Right.
okay, you're talking about back when my mother was in school when there was home economics.
Right.
You're talking about when there were basic skills
Yes.
being taught about household duties, about civic duties
Right.
that were automatically given to you because the idea was that you were going to be growing into a citizen
That's
that
right.
is responsible,
That's right.
which is the ultimate goal. Somewhere in there, money talked, okay? And so programs that were meant to help the child outside of just school
We're alleviating.
in life were eliminated.
Eliminated.
Politicians.
It was
Yeah.
eliminated. So at the end of it,
Right.
then you have now hurt community
Right.
who are seeing their kids not doing what they need to do in school anymore because school's not able to provide it anymore. Well, what's going to be my response to that? It's going to be a back and forth kind of situation, right? And I'm not saying one entity started it versus the other. What I am saying is there's been such a disconnect for so long that it's not out the norm to hear that something is cut.
Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that it's out of the norm for us to hear from the very top that education is not really a necessity of success anymore, especially higher education? That's coming from the top.
Well, first of all, you can only speak from your experience.
Right.
For Black people, education is always essential. And a
Yes, that is
And
correct.
I'm not saying you have to have a degree, but like I tell my son, being you ain't gonna cut it.
That's right.
So
That's
you
right.
have to be educated in something and have something behind your name. And as time goes on, let that be your craft.
Right.
But I don't think that people who have never lived or have lived experience as a Black person, a Latino, Asian,
Right.
can speak for any of those demographics
Yeah.
about what's essential and
That's
what's
right.
needed.
Yeah. Because,
And like wraparound services.
oh gosh.
I
Yeah.
co-authored the policy that became the bill that became policy in our district. And you know, I was at the board meeting the night that they asked it. I went in the bathroom and I just cried, and tears was just flowing down my face because I know how hard we worked on. I mean, I came in at the very tail end of it, but even at the tail end of it, we was still working over triple, not leaving the HFC office until 9, 10 o'clock, trying to iron out and make everything presentable for
Explain,
this to be passed.
explain what wraparound services.
So
are.
basically,
People may
what
not know.
wraparound services is that support piece that we're all sitting here talking about, that was actually coming back into HISD. So what that did was they gave people, not just children, but children and families, food,
Right.
clothing. It gave them
Excuse me.
Toiletries.
toiletries. It brought programs into their jobs was to seek out programs in the community to build that community and district base back together, put it back together to support the families, teachers,
Right.
and the students and the campuses at the school.
And Rebecca, I wanna just kind of piggyback off of what you said. I'm gonna give an example. If they weren't just giving shampoo and antiperspirant and a uniform, our wraparound specialist at our school, which is the school that we all taught at, he was so magnificent that when the freeze took place and it broke people's pipes for months, he went and he orchestrated a partnership with the high school down the street so that that high school kept those gym showers open until 9 o'clock p.m. for the students and their families to be able to go in and shower. Basic things like that. And a lot of times people don't even, they take for granted. Everybody has a place to go shower. Everybody has a place to go wash their hair. And you know, when these people had their pipes broken and sometimes pipes weren't fixed, not because they weren't trying to do it, but you had plumbers that were backlogged for a month
Everybody.
and they could, yeah, everybody was affected.
Yeah.
And you know, some people who would never have had to use a service like that had to use a service like that at this point.
Without
Yeah.
breaking the bank.
Right. They had
Everybody could go to a hotel.
the
Right.
washing and drying machines that
Yes.
they clean the guys' uniform. I mean the athletics
Families can
uniform.
come in and wash.
They can come in and wash.
Yeah.
I mean, when COVID
At the
happened,
grocery store too.
right?
Yeah.
When COVID
We worked in
happened,
the grocery store.
Right.
Yeah, Rebecca
And
and I did.
when COVID happened, pulling forms out. Okay, what do students need? What are parents? When parents were working jobs that if they didn't go to work, they did not get paid.
Mhm.
You know, what do these parents need? And then you had trying to can't tell my words. You have a man who's at the helm that said, well, you know what? Forget that. We'll have some sunrise centers. And we gonna build these sunrise centers.
And did they eventually close?
No, there's what I understand they still running, but nobody's using them because
can't
the
get to 'em.
sunrise centers are so far away from the campuses. What wraparound was right there in the school with the
In the school.
children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that happened with wraparound before, oh boy came.
Right.
I just think so wraparound started out as Pro Unitas,
Mm-hmm.
and because it was at Cashmere Gardens when I was there,
Okay.
and it became an issue with. So let me start here.
Yeah.
HISD has inequities, and
Yes.
we know there are inequities based on demographic, the
Right.
West versus the Northeast and the
South.
South and Southeast. So that's one of the things that it was my hope that would change, and a lot of the parents in the West would understand
Right.
that you have to support everybody in the system.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, and you can't be so
Focus.
focused
Yeah.
on the West, and everybody else.
out.
But that's what broke HISD, and I was hoping that thinking would go away. But part of the issue with wraparound services, I can remember at a board meeting, they wanted to have wraparound services. The West was not allowed to have wraparound services.
Wow.
They weren't. Prior to COVID, they weren't because there really wasn't a need for it.
Right.
And the district wasn't, I don't know if they were paying for it. But anyway, but when COVID came,
They were paying for it out of ESSER funds. Right?
Yeah.
no, what happened was when COVID came,
Mm-hmm.
Sue Dygard, I'll never forget it. She was the one that pitched a fit about the other schools having wraparound services. So what they did is took the ESSER funds, and that's how Miles always is yapping off. Well, they were using for what? Well, it wasn't. It's because Sue Dygard strong armed the superintendent and made him do it. You see what I'm saying? So that's what happened.
So in that, as a result of that, wraparound services were placed in all of the schools.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what happened.
Yeah.
And when Pete says that, I was like, you wasn't even here to even tell the story. All
Right.
you see the what and the why. What and the why. What happened versus why happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the why explains the what.
Right.
So that's what happened. They were not in those schools.
Yeah.
And I get what they were saying, but here's my problem. Like we go back to support. I don't believe in looking at the district based on where you live. We have 5 buckets of children. You have your gifted and talented, your kids on grade level, kids below grade level, SPED, and your emerging bottom
Right.
Yeah.
You look at that budget and you say, how can we support all these children?
That's right.
Right.
That's right.
So that's what needs to be done. And I've been
Right.
talking to some of the people as they're running for these trustee seats.
Yes.
You have to advocate for all groups of children.
Absolutely.
Their parents are not a factor in that.
That's right.
Gifted and talented kids have their own needs.
They do.
Our on grade level kids, generally, those kids get everything because that's what the curriculum is
Right.
geared towards on grade level. These
That's
babies
right.
are below grade level are just like GT kids.
Yes.
They have
Yes.
their own needs.
That's right.
Then you have your SPED, which are normally double dippers with the kids that are working below grade level. And you have your EB, they're outlier because it's language acquisition.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So when you think of it that way,
Yeah.
the support is there.
Right.
And you're not playing
That's right.
politics with,
Yeah.
these kids from this side, and that's why, some of the people are mad at me because I made a video and I told the truth. When HISD was being taken over, Morav came in under the cloak of darkness
Right.
to
I
the
remember
west
that. Yeah.
and told them, oh, your schools won't be touched.
Yeah.
Let all the peasants, other schools, be touched.
Yes.
So, but that's what I'm talking about, this support. We need to support everyone. And what you're saying about the STAR test,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, then those kids will be able to rise to the occasion.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
If
And
it's
the needs are
equitable.
met.
If it's equitable.
Right. It's
Yes.
not about the accountability piece because the children can meet the accountability piece. The problem is the support is not
Right.
And if
That's
that's
what the
and the thing about it is, if the support doesn't come from home, let's create a system whereby it can come from somewhere else.
And you know what? I have asked this question till I'm blue in the face. And one of our favorite teachers, Miss Lisa Williams, I'm calling your name because this was your brilliant take.
Hey, Miss Lisa.
Okay. So I know she's gonna kill me, but I
Yeah.
have to say this. I was frustrated one day coming out of PB. Just frustrated. And everybody was like, Rebecca, what's wrong?
She's so passionate about
What's wrong? And I kept saying to myself, I said, you know what? We sit in these PDs
Yeah.
year after year, summer after summer, 2 weeks,
Yeah.
the single year, not just HISD, not just
All of them. Yeah.
across the
Yeah.
nation,
All of them.
to close this achievement gap. We got specialists for this, and I'm not knocking teacher specialists or whatever. We got specialists for this,
Right.
curriculum people for this. We got everything for everybody, and yet the achievement gap has not been closed in 80 years. Matter of fact, we getting further behind. What is we doing here? And she looked at me and said, because failure pays.
It does. There's money.
Yeah.
She said, when you have all of these people making all of this money off of interest, she said, think about it. If every child was performing on grade level and above, how many jobs would be out?
That's right.
It's like,
She's absolutely
I
right.
said, oh,
Yeah.
you know what? I never thought about it. She was like, you wouldn't, because there would be no need for all of these extra people because the achievement gap would be closed. The teachers would be doing great. Their pay would be high, and then their responsibility because failure is money
Yeah.
It's profitable in failure. That's what it is. But the problem with that is that the children are still being hurt in the whole process. Like they're not getting their needs.
I'll say this, select children are being hurt.
Right, that's true.
Select children, not all children.
Right.
Because as we were just talking about,
Depending on where you live.
yeah, depending on certain circumstances that
Right.
unfortunately the child does not have control over,
Right.
they are being helped or they're not.
Right.
And usually it's the ones that have that help at home unaffected.
Yeah. And I think the churches need to stop giving out free stuff. They need to
Now, explain yourself.
so
Yeah,
they
'cause my
say
church-
the Bible says the man that doesn't want don't
Yeah.
eat.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay.
So if you don't have money monetarily, you have time.
That's right.
So if a parent is coming asking for help, then you train the parent, give them education, make them, and then you give them the other need. But we have to build the capacity of our people, and I think they perpetuate this handout thing. Like I know there are a lot of parents when it's school supply time,
I know.
in order for them not to pay for, and they may have the money.
Yeah.
They go hopping from,
Same thing about Christmas.
Yeah,
Wait.
Yeah.
and
I'm
that's
like, the toys is for the truly less fortunate. What are y'all?
But you know what, Michelle? But Michelle, here's the thing. And I want to make sure that we kind of stay kind of where we need to be, because I want everybody to know where Michelle stands on some of these things. Here's the thing. There is always going to be a certain subset of people who who regardless of what has been taught out there, what they know to be wrong and right, who are going to be takers. Their hands are always going to be out.
but it's not a subset. It's a lot of them.
No, you're right.
I'm just
But-
telling you.
Why are you pulling up to a full drive in a Range Rover? I don't.
Or a cat.
But that's what I'm saying. We have lost,
Yeah.
and what I'm saying, I'm not trying to be callous. I think we have lost our way. And what Martin Luther King taught us, and Cesar Chavez taught them,
Right.
is that that's not who we are as a people.
That's right.
And I think, yeah, we should be better than that. Our children, it's not do as I say and don't look at what I do.
Right.
The kids see it and they mimic that behavior.
So
So
Michelle, what happened between let's give it a timeline, because this is going to be pretty accurate. What happened between the 1950s and the 1970s?
you know, I'm part of that third group of kids when it comes to that.
Yeah.
I ain't pay attention to history.
Okay. Well, let me just say this. We have
If you ask my mom and daddy, especially my daddy, he'd say integration. I said, daddy, stop.
That's what I was getting ready to say.
My mom was bused till y'all was.
That's what we were.
Yeah, but
that's-
yeah, and I get that, but there's a book called Jim Crow's Pink Slip. And segregation, when you look at it, there were some good things about our system.
Yes.
We had
Yes.
people, we had representation.
People who truly cared.
Right, and we held ourselves to a higher standard.
Right.
So in Jim Crow's Pink Slip, it talks about how Brown versus Board of Education, when integration happened, they fired a lot of the Black principals and teachers. So here's what I tell people, and it didn't dawn on me till I was reading the book.
Right.
My great grandmother was a teacher.
Right.
But here's the thing. None of my mother's siblings or teachers, not even my grandmother, even thought about being a teacher.
Yeah.
No, it's my generation, my siblings, we're teachers. It skipped that whole generation.
I didn't think about being a teacher. Isn't that something? And I came from a long line of teachers. My grandfather, my mother's father, in I believe it was 1911, he became the first African American superintendent in the state of Texas. That was in the Valley View School District in East Texas. The community had, and the reason that that happened is because they couldn't be a part of the other school. So in the community, she said they built the school from scratch. They had a brick making class. The boys were taught how to make the bricks, and those boys made the bricks to build the school. And that school stayed there and was used until the 1970s. But those kids were taught there. They didn't leave that community. There were expectations, like you said, and people looked out for each other. There was not a child in that community that did not at least graduate from high school because you were your brother's keeper.
That's something for
Yes.
time period.
Yes, that's what I mean. And that's why I was asking Michelle, what do you think happened between 19,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
the thing about it is separate but equal didn't work. It was separate and unequal.
yeah,
So
And what it should have been was separate and equitable and not equal. And here's the difference. Equality means I give everybody the same piece all the way around. But if I'm hungry and I haven't eaten in 3 days, the little piece you give me is not gonna fill me up.
right.
Right? So we may all, and you may, I'm sorry,
That's okay.
you may have eaten 2 hours ago.
Right.
And give me your piece. So equitable is when you give people
What they need.
what they need.
Right.
Right. And not and but that wasn't the case, right? They gave people, well, like Michelle said, when the white schools got textbooks,
we got what they're left
What
with.
they-
what they left up. Well, what's such a big deal about that?
Because it's outdated material.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We were able to kind of like, at least certain communities, because my mom was a part of that community,
That's right.
was able to outdo that anyway.
That's right.
My mom, yeah, I love my mom to death.
Yes.
But, and I know I talk about her a lot, but the thing with her is like, she was first generation.
Right.
And mind you, she came from farm life with a grandparent raising her.
Yes.
And that's not to just bolster her up. That's just to tell you the situation it was.
Right.
It was not a easygoing lifestyle.
Right.
This was day in, day out.
And this is Mississippi, right?
Right, Mississippi. Now, mind you, now also too, when she was, living her life and everything else, Emmett Till, what happened with him was not that far off
Right.
with the dates. Okay,
Right.
so that's to tell you the tension
Right.
and the social aspect.
Disparity.
Okay.
That's right. Yeah.
So, despite all of that, when she went to those all black schools, outperformed everything at the all white.
Yeah.
From what she told me.
Right.
And she graduated from the all white at 16
Right.
and was able to go on to the junior college,
Right.
in the college, and then the master's program up in Utah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, that's just her story. I'm not saying that's for everybody.
And this was probably in the 70s or 80s. I mean, the 70s probably.
Right. My mom was
Yeah.
born in 55.
Right.
Right.
And here's the thing with that. Education was stressed in our household.
That's right.
Right. In all black people's household.
We had something
Yes.
to fight for.
Right.
Yeah.
Their whole
It was an expectation.
that
Yeah.
if you want going back to what you had said earlier, if you want anything out of life, the only way you're gonna get it is if you have something attached between you and that. And even if kids weren't, because even back then people knew who were academically gifted and who had the acumen to go on and do something
Right.
better.
Right.
But even if you can't
Right.
go write an essay,
Yes.
you can go work on a car.
Right.
Okay?
That's
You
right.
can go fix a refrigerator.
That's right.
Right? You can own your own business. Right? You can do something that you can have a skill that you can be productive
That's
in
right.
and take care of yourself.
That's right.
Somewhere along the line, and even when we were going, they had wood shop in high school. They had
Cosmetology.
cosmetology.
Yeah.
So that I think that still permeated. But then after a while, and I never understood this about HISD, maybe Michelle can explain it. We went from that to being a college bound culture.
Right.
And I've always
Yeah.
had an issue with that
Yeah.
because everybody is
Yeah.
not going to college.
Right.
Everybody don't have a way to college. Everybody
And
don't
not
have
everybody
an
knows
acumen
it.
to college.
However, Rebecca, unlike what the current administration is pushing now, that's not necessarily important. College should always be an option.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
One,
But if
yes.
it's not an option, you still have other things. I remember
That could
we
make you
sat in that
successful.
board meeting, and I'm surprised nobody else hell blew that. When Mike Miles said, when it was probably like the sixth, seventh board meeting we were at, and he was talking about the test scores and raising the standards, and he said, because I am tired of paying for HISD kids to graduate for them to be hairdressers and welders.
Oh, that was when,
Wow.
oh, what's her name? Cassandra Ozambandi, she didn't like
Right.
that comment.
Yeah, and I said, what hairdresser? Because mine make more than me. So,
And welders make pretty good.
Yeah, they certainly.
and then one of my students' parents who owned a welding shop, he
Was a
provided
consultant.
me
Yeah,
with supplies that I didn't have for the kids.
right.
He came in every week. I bought you pencils. I bought you highlighters
Right.
for everybody.
But it's disrespectful.
It
And
is,
that's
it is.
my thing.
Yeah.
And when we were at City Hall, Rick Campo, the chairman, because I'm the chair of the Port of Houston. Okay, so
Right.
that's your claim to fame.
Right.
So every time I talk about him, I say that the chairman of the Port of Houston,
Uh-huh.
he let us know what it's about. He said they need employees. And that was what my speech yesterday was about, putting these kids on a path to a dead end job with no advancement. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with starting out where you are, because some kids may not know what their path path in life is, and that's fine. But their thing is, and Mike Miles, he talks out of both sides of his neck. But at the end of the day, they want these kids to be in dead end jobs. And that's the side. They're creating a society of have-nots. But
That's
And
it.
we
people
are being
be controlled.
complicit. Well, yeah, but we're, like I used to tell my high school kids at Cashmere High, if you know the police is down the street, go home. But they can't tell me what to do.
Yeah.
Well, go to
Yeah.
jail.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm saying? So,
You don't go if you go down that
right. Like it's midnight. You shouldn't be out anyway.
That's right.
But they bother me. You should be at home.
That's right.
So, but I think for us, and I'm about empowering people.
That's right.
I'm not about the crutch. So for
That's
me,
right.
I had my son at 20. So
Yeah.
obviously I got government services. I had a housing voucher. I've had child care assistance.
Right.
I've done Medicaid. I've done food stamps.
And there were stepping stones.
Yes, they are not supposed to be crutches. I
That's
bought a
right.
house when I was 27.
Yeah.
I had only been teaching a year.
Right.
So these things are attainable even in this climate, but you can't take the system and make it your life. And
That's right.
and that's my
That's
thing.
absolutely right.
Because people
Yeah.
probably don't know about that about me. They're probably like, she did. No.
Right.
I know I can go work in Cashmere Gardens area because I've been there. before.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I do empathize with those people, but you have to have a will to get this done. But
Right.
and you do that because there was a parent at Cashmere Gardens, and I was so proud of her because her daughter was struggling in school, but she decided to go back to school. She had gone
Wow.
to school at Cashmere Gardens too, but it showed her daughter resilience,
That's
even
right.
though she was struggling too.
That's right.
So, but the kids are watching their parents, and if the parents can't say, "Okay, I messed up. I'm going to pull my bootstraps
start
up
over.
and
That's
start
right.
over," but we have to be more resilient. We have to try. The only time we're going to fail is if you fail to try.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it's easy because I get pegged as baby. Let me tell you something about these schools. Hostile black woman. Oh, you talk
Oh, yeah.
loud. Girl, I don't talk loud.
Yeah.
I don't like, I
No, you speak out, and I think a lot of it is
Because
they
you have
want
voice. They don't want you to have a voice.
publicity.
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think that's what it is because I am out. I don't care. It just is what it is. I ain't changing.
You loud.
I dare it. So, but my thing is when you have a voice and you speak
That's right.
out, you're gonna get targeted, and I think that's my
And that should not
struggle.
stop you from speaking.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my struggle with the teacher group that we have. It's
Right.
Girl, them capital letters.
like it's a like I guess in my head, and I'm gonna just say my head. So I don't see how you go to work every single day and be abused, because that's what you're doing.
And not say anything about it.
You're being abused. I mean, I have had teachers call me crying, saying that behind closed doors they've had principals cuss them out.
Shut up.
Yes, and call them outside of their names.
And they remain. And they remain.
And that's my thing. And I
They
get
remain.
it. I need a job. I got bills. I got
But there
bills.
are
I
options,
got
Rebecca.
children to
There
take
are
care
options.
of. I got, and I'm not going to make $90,000 nowhere else as a teacher.
Well, you're not making it here either, because what I heard.
Yeah.
Just saying.
But
Exactly.
But I can't afford to not. I can't say nothing because I can't afford to lose my job.
Well,
And
but
But those are teachers that are not seasoned.
that's right.
Those
That's
are the
right.
teachers
Yeah.
that, I'm sorry to say it, because that was also
Most of them are there for
too.
For the check.
You're
Yeah.
getting people in,
Yeah.
or at least the goal was
Yeah.
to bring people in not fully certified,
Right.
not fully knowledgeable of what was going on,
What they're walking
and
into.
what they're walking into with a promise of that 90K
Yeah.
that they're not gonna get.
Yeah.
So now you have a person that's
yeah.
stuck.
Yeah.
and then that was another thing too. And then that was said on the last show
Right.
about how that was said on the last show about how they were not promised, people were not promised the salaries that they were supposed to get. And and I think what happened was with all of the 450 teachers, Michelle can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think what happened with the 400,
I wanted to get to that question too about the
450 teachers, I don't even think they had planned on giving them a contract anyway. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they planned on giving them a contract anyway. I just think they wanted a warm body in the classroom because he lied and said that there was no vacancies. I mean, we only have 17 vacancies in HISD. Well, I worked in HISD.
It's always at least.
It's low, but it's 100. That's low. So, and I've seen where, on the first day of school, you just go and look just to see, to be nosy, to see how many schools are without teachers. Oh, we looking for 25 math teachers, and we looking for 30
That
science
was our
teachers.
conversation, remember? Because I was on Indeed
Yes.
looking also because I do part-time with after-school program
Right.
now. But I was looking at something just in case, with my.
Because you're an ELA teacher.
Right, right. And I also did intervention. I did
Right.
I also taught ELLs and everything else.
Right.
I've done quite a bit.
Right.
But when I'm looking at these different little job openings,
Right.
there's some that specifically say HISD.
Uh-huh.
There's a lot more that don't.
Right.
With the promise again of the 85, the 80K.
But that goes back to, look, these are adults.
Yeah.
And that is what I tell people. Like one lady was saying, well, I didn't know that we were supposed to be back at this time. You're an adult. Read the calendar.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to get docked. That sounds like a you problem.
Yeah.
Because at the end, I was talking to an administrator and they were telling people that they messing up. Dude, y'all raising people on these jobs
Mm-hmm.
because these are not responsible people. And
Well, Michelle, I am going to respectfully disagree with that, and let me tell you why. Because when this was the first year of the takeover. I know. Let me say this, especially when it comes to that not reporting on time. Let me tell you what made me as mad as a hornet. That first year of the takeover, and you remember this. We on our calendar that was set forth for us at the beginning of the prior school year, it said we report back to work on this day. Okay. And then 1 week before we were to report back to, no, 2 weeks before we were to report back to work, we got an updated
That's different.
Yeah.
This woman
Okay.
said she didn't look at the calendar. She was out of the country. And I
That's
told
what I'm gonna say. No matter where you are in the world.
and she was like, but I didn't. I said, so you booked a trip to go out of the country.
In August.
That's my point. I was like, man, some of these, and that's another thing. Some of
It's
the
not being
things
responsible.
are self-inflicted. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna be honest with you, when my members come with foolishness, well, which that most of them know not to tell, because
Because you gonna respond how you
I am,
respond.
because we're
Yeah.
adults.
Right.
And if you want respect,
Right.
you gotta be respectable. Now, the foolishness you're talking about, that I get that. But for you to say, do I have to come to work on time? I told one girl in the group, take your behind to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, why?
Like
Why?
somebody else's mother.
Yeah.
Mothering.
And but I can understand that point too, because the atmosphere is so toxic at HIST.
Yeah.
It is.
Here's the thing: we've put out a lot, and even with me, I stand where I stand.
Right.
That line is drawn.
Right.
Draw your line.
Yeah.
Most of these people don't have a line drawn.
Yeah.
They are
Right.
being tossed about, and I told them, like, if you don't say this is it,
Yes.
like, I'm gonna be honest with you, all the stuff that I've been through,
Right.
it's not that person that had to end the main that's going to cuss me out. They're not gonna even
Right.
form the word.
Right.
But I'm
Yeah.
just saying,
Yeah.
it's where, because they do things because you allow them to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Michelle, what would you say? And we'll kind of end on this point. What would you say for someone right now who is getting ready to actually they are bright-eyed and bushy-tailed, getting ready to graduate in May with a teaching certification from a university? Would you recommend they start their teaching career here at this point in time? Secondly, would you recommend that they be part of immediately join a teachers union?
I really believe like they have these programs for pre-service teachers.
Yes.
I think teachers that are trying to go into the profession at this time,
Yeah.
they need to enter it then. Because what it does is like we have a president of our aspiring educators, and
Okay.
he interacts with us.
Okay.
So he hears the foolishness we talk about every day. So
He knows what to look out for.
yeah, so by the time he gets, he already know what the foolishness is. And I asked him when we were at the
So you would not discourage someone.
Yeah, and I asked him, I told him, I said, you still want to be a teacher? He said, yeah. He said, I've always wanted to be a teacher. And here's the
Wow.
caveat. My son said he was going to be a teacher. I said,
Wow.
I said, didn't I tell you stay away from education?
Stop.
He told me that.
And it's because I would not. I'm gonna be honest with you.
And he watched everything that you've been through.
But here's my.
But that's awesome. That's
No.
awesome.
No, it's not.
No, for him to watch everything that you have had to
I was
do.
gonna
I have been through
I
hell.
know. And he still wants to be a teacher.
But here's the thing. Watching me do it and do
Actually
it.
doing it.
It's
Because-
Different.
Okay, so I'm relentless about certain things.
Right.
And public education is something that I believe in 10 toes down, like you
Yes.
say.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's different being in it. Like people's like, oh, you're doing great things. We're so appreciative. I said, I have my dark moments too.
Right.
I'm a human being.
Right.
I never wanted to run for state representative.
Yeah.
I wanted to go back into anonymity. Y'all ain't know me.
Yeah.
So,
I did because you
You did.
mentored me.
yes.
Yeah, she mentored me as a first year teacher in charter school.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So, I never wanted to do this. This is doing it out of love and service
Right.
for public educators.
Yes.
I want them, like I said, I'm a person that believes in empowerment.
Right.
So if I blaze the trail and win the seat, and tell your little friend Charles Cunningham ran unopposed, and then he ran his second time against a pest control person. But anyway,
Okay.
well, not because it's gonna be a bloodbath, baby, please.
Yes.
But anywho,
Yes.
I'm about empowerment.
That's
I'm
right.
not
That's right.
I want to go off into the sunset and say, you know, look at the little people. You know, go get them.
Yes. Yes.
I'm here.
Yes.
But I want this to be a starting point for educators to
Right.
say, she did it.
Yeah.
I can do it too.
And it's worth fighting for.
It is.
It is worth fighting for. You know, for us to be so anti-public education in this country right now, and 90+% of the people in this country are products of public education, where is the disconnect?
Because
You know?
if you get educated, and that means you're gonna learn at some point how to critically think.
No, not education, but public education.
At some point,
Yes.
it's a public good that everybody can't afford. Because the more people that get educated,
Yeah. The less
more
you
people-
have to work on your
Yeah.
your plantation.
Right.
Right. So
That-
that's
yeah.
what it is. But
Yeah.
Crystal, I wanted before we close out, I wanted and I know she's been telling this story all day because I've been following her on all platforms today.
Yes.
Literally. Just real quick, Michelle, can you tell for those of you who did not have the chance to hear your story from
Yes.
can you
Give us the Reader's Digest condensed version.
You got it.
Anybody remember Reader's Digest?
No.
I did when I was a
That
baby.
was killing
What?
me.
It's the snap. It's with the Snapchat version, right?
By the cashier.
Yes.
You go
So the story about what's taking place currently.
With you.
Okay, so I'm in my second time of being well, they terminated my contract at the last year too.
Okay.
That was the issue with the language. This time they're trying to get it right because Norma Castillo, she had some issues with us in the hearing. But anyway, this has less to do about me. Last time was about Mike Miles coming after me. He didn't appreciate my email, my resume. And this time it's about the children. I was working at Benbrook and I was teaching, almost 70% of my 3 classes of third graders were the lower English proficiency kids, which
right.
are beginner and intermediate.
Right.
And my principal, who was blindsided a week before school started, asked me to teach the class specifically to help increase the TELPAS scores because
Right.
I'm from the old school and I've taught reading before, but I've done math only for the last 20 years.
Right.
So she said, I know you got the training. I said, okay, that's cool. You know, I ain't got to deal with STAR. Y'all can have it. And I was campaigning anyway. So fast forward, we got the new principal. They wanted the model, pacing for pizza. And
What is
girl,
Let's take the explain.
It sounds like- I'm gonna go with what it sounds like. Okay.
And it was.
That's right.
So we're pacing for pizza and we're behind on implementing the model. But I have these 70%, which 2 out of the 3 classes
Right.
were
English language learners.
English language learners. So I like the what and the why. So I knew the why. I already had that. I was waiting for the what. The what was the math test. 79% of the kids came back that they were reading below grade level.
Right.
So I bring it up in a planning meeting, ask them, hey, the kids can't read these passages. Now I knew silence of reading wasn't supposed to be started.
These were like word problems in math, right?
No, reading. She's
Reading
teaching
passages.
Okay.
So they were reading passages. I knew that
Okay.
wasn't but that wasn't my fight. Because
Right.
you know, I can teach.
Right.
But I told her, I said, kids need to learn how to read in English. The
Exactly.
principal, you're the assistant principal, and you say, well, there's not any time for that. And I said, what? I said, so, you know, black girl came out. What are we doing here? Like, I was mad. Like, literally, I was mad. I said, so why don't you take teacher off my badge and put lecturer? I said, because this is not teaching. Y'all playing school.
Right.
And from that day on, I was like, no, I'm going to teach these children how to read. And that's when my crusade started. You all are in violation of House Bill 3 anyway, because silence of reading is supposed to be the 5 components of reading.
Right.
Phonics, phonemic awareness, fluency, vocabulary, and
Yeah.
comprehension. I've been trained in that. I had to drink the Kool-Aid.
Right.
I know it. They have the balanced approach to reading. NHISD. I was a product of that.
Right.
So,
So science of reading is basically a modified version of that.
yeah,
Okay.
that's all it is. It's the fact because they realized the kids didn't have the phonics.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
House Bill 3 mandated that the school districts adopt a phonics program.
Okay.
This HISD doesn't have it.
Mhm.
So once I got removed, they started trying to change it back, but it's too late.
Right.
So they were saying I was being insubordinate, but I wasn't. They were forcing me to break laws. I had sped kids. I had a student in my class who has cerebral palsy.
Right. Right.
So you want me just bulldoze this baby? I'm not going to do that.
Right.
So they said I was insubordinate. I told them I don't follow unlawful and
Unlawful. Yeah.
and unethical directives, and that's what happened with me. So now they're trying to drag my name through the mud as if I did something wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. The district is in violation, and people are asking me, am I going to return? No, I'm not, but I'm not. I'm going to clear my name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And whatever that takes, that's where I am.
Well, I have a question, and let me make sure that I have this correct. You are now a veteran math teacher who has honed those skills for the past 20 plus years in all grade levels and aspects of mathematics. And you were teaching.
Science of reading. I did that because my principal asked me to do it. I know how to teach kids how to read. That's why my math scores are good, because I teach them. I support literacy in mathematics.
Right.
'Cause
Exactly.
they're
Yeah.
struggling.
Successful.
So
Yeah.
I know when it's a math problem or a reading problem.
Right.
If it's a reading problem,
And that's a good thing to know.
That's
because,
right.
You know, it's not, okay, so I don't need to work with you on the computations. I need to work with you on the reading.
Right.
Right.
Comprehension.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we work on those things. So that's how I've been surviving math all these years. And even my test scores after I was placed at Benbrook, my test scores, I hit their metrics. And I had one advanced high group of kids and I had an intermediate
Yeah.
group of kids. And they did fine.
That's
And I
awesome.
took over the class from a first year teacher
Right.
in October.
Well, Michelle, let me ask you this. And because we already, I know you told me you were tired and you've been running when you got here. So I know that you're exhausted. But let me ask you this. For the people who are out there in District 127, where you live and where you have previously worked and where you call home, the types of things that they are experiencing and that they are not seeing right now. And you know whether or not they're seeing them because you're one of them. You are a constituent, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What are the things that you all see in that area that need to come full circle, or the challenges that you're seeing that need to be addressed immediately that you feel you could impact?
I'm gonna go back to her point about the school not being a disconnect between school and community. Spring ISD is currently being threatened by the state of Texas of being taken over. They have a Wheatley High School.
And Fort Worth ISD.
Yeah. So they have a Wheatley High School and they're tone deaf. And the community has been saying that they don't support Spring ISD, which I can't blame them. I'm being honest with you. I won't even work there.
Right.
So my thing is they need to get back to that connection between the community. And the problem is
That disconnect.
and the problem is they're not listening to the community. But you listen when you ask for that $763 million bond.
Right.
And y'all only want to come to us when you need some money.
Right.
But you don't respect our opinions. Like when I've been trying to get a meeting with the new superintendent because I know what it's like. I worked at Cashman High School.
Right.
So I know what it's like to have a trigger school.
Right.
Y'all need to have a contingency plan, but you don't know that because you won't meet with me because you're arrogant.
Right. Yeah.
The board president, I've reached out to her. Though that's an immediate concern.
Yeah.
We have a flooding issue. We didn't flood. Now we have
Yeah.
developers. We have greed versus common sense.
Right.
Science says that you can't build all the retention ponds to fight Mother Nature.
Right.
So they're building retention ponds, and it doesn't make sense. We have new. I
And
mean,
that's an area that never flooded.
no, but we're flooding now.
Yeah.
So they're developing, and I get it, but we need to make good decisions
Right.
and put in flood mitigation. If you have a neighborhood, why would you put a retention pond instead of a park that acts
Right.
as a flood mitigation?
Right.
So a retention pond, those kids gonna end up drowning. They had kids drowning Katie
Yeah.
in a retention
They
pond.
sure did. An autistic kid.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the
Yeah.
thing
Yeah,
about
and didn't he wander off?
He did.
And
He did.
fell in?
Yeah.
I think I saw that.
And nobody was there to save him.
Right.
So the thing about it is, those are some of the pressing issues that
Yeah.
we have. Infrastructure is a big issue because we're considered an unincorporated
Mm-hmm.
part of Texas.
So what does your opponent say about it?
My look, you need to hear what the constituents say about my opponent. I don't even know if he's running. He hadn't said anything.
Yeah.
So we'll see if he's still running again. I would love to run against him, so
Yeah.
we can have these conversations and see if he gets the Chronicle endorsement this year.
Well, Michelle, let me ask you this. If you could say one last thing to your constituents out there who will be voting
Mhm.
in March, what would you say to them that sets you apart from the incumbent right now?
First of all, I believe in democracy, and I'm a resident first before
Yeah.
I'm not even a politician.
Right.
Um,
You're a classroom teacher.
yeah, I'm a
Yeah.
teacher. I am for public education. I believe in the promise of public education. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. But we need to keep that structure in place because if it crumbles, we will never get it back. We
Right.
do not have another election in us to wait. We don't.
Right.
If we
Right.
do not get this election right, because the legislative session won't be next year, it'll be the year
That's
after.
right.
You see what I'm
Too much
saying?
damage can be done.
So what we're
Yeah.
trying to do is undo what was done
Right.
in this past legislative session
Right.
because it was too much.
Yeah.
Also, I'm a fighter. And the same way I listen to teachers, and some will disagree, but I do listen. I might not agree with you, but I do listen to people, and I do care about people. I care about us thriving as a community, and I think 127, and by the number of voters and the lack of voting, lets me know that there's an issue out there
Yeah.
with not being heard. Because I can tell you about
Yes.
Charles Cunningham. I reached out to his office twice. When I was at the Capitol, I went by his office. He wasn't even there. But they say he's so rude and disrespectful to people. I've never had the
So you wouldn't even know because you ain't even met him.
right.
And that's
Right.
your representative.
And I don't. And I asked my neighbor. I said, "Do you know who your state representative is?" He was like, "Who? Tell me."
Yeah.
So, but that's
So he hasn't even attempted to have a presence.
He doesn't care because they think it's a Republican area, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's a non-voting area.
Right. And there's a difference. There's a difference.
So I'm
People
looking
don't
to
feel like
change
they have anything to be excited about.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I'm looking to change that. I'm looking to get some volunteers out and get excited about finally putting educators at the forefront
Yes.
because I believe we are on the verge of change, and I want to be a part of that because I want
You are
people.
Absolutely.
You on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
You were the one that was building
That
the
was boots on the ground. Yeah. Mary Grimes,
Yes.
if you could pinpoint one area that you would like to see changed in 131, which is the district that I'm running for, what are some of the things that you've observed in the last years that you've been in 131 that you know need to be addressed and haven't been addressed?
Boy.
It's hard to pick out one. I know.
I was about to say another loaded question, Ms. Dillard. I guess for me personally, just especially on the fight for our sped babies.
Yeah.
Again, that's probably a bias of me because I have one, but it's almost as if, especially when I first started out, usually the way they treat those sped babies, or at least from what I observed, and again, I came from more than one district, so I'm not just saying just one particular district does it. It's almost as if they're on the back burner. it's almost as if, yes, they have the paperwork, yes, they have the meetings, but when it comes down to where they place them, the class sizes, the assistants, again, all those resources that they need, there's not even a resource room for some of these kids, and some of them actually do need to be removed for a little bit.
Right.
That's just
To be
what
able
that
to
means.
focus.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if it's not happening repeatedly in multiple spaces, then it's a problem.
So you feel that the fight needs to definitely be focused on education and what we can do in it for education.
Right.
And a whole lot of that, regardless of what people want to say, a whole lot of that takes place at the state level.
It does.
Okay, a lot of it takes place at the state level. And you want to make sure that you have someone who will verbally go to the mat if necessary and not be afraid to speak up. Because what we have now is a climate of people on the other side who are loud and boisterous and who are ready to try to kick the door in. But we have people on our side that are trying to do it nice and politely and not ruffle any feathers. But you know what? Sometimes you're put in a position where you have to return the energy that you're met with.
Yeah.
In order for people to understand that you're serious about what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know, usually when you put somebody in fight or flight mode, they expect you to try to fly because they're going to be more aggressive towards you. And it's like she said, boundary. Right? You have to set the tone because you teach people how to treat you.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's absolutely right. We can't just, stand in a line and 10 people deep and say we're standing in solidarity. Sometimes if somebody is kicking the door in, you got to take a bat and hit it from the other side.
I thought you were about to say,
and let me say this.
Or a chair.
Let me say this.
Yes.
Let me say this before we close.
Yes.
For the both of you, since you both are running for 131 and 127. Not that I matter, but I proudly endorse both of you simply because I'm tired of teachers always being on the back burner.
Yeah.
Right? I'm tired of teachers always having to play catch up and nobody's ever thinking about them. Right? In order to have a healthy, viable educational system, you have to have a healthy, vibrant workforce, which involves teachers teaching these babies.
Yeah.
The problem is teachers are frustrated, they are burnt out, they are screaming to the top of their lungs, and nobody's listening. Everybody think they know best.
Right.
For teachers. And the very people that have the solutions to all y'all school problems are the teachers. It's like everybody is going around them, not listening. And these are the very people that have the answers to all the school's problems, I believe.
And let's not forget this. And guys, I promise we're closing out right now. I promise that we are. But let's not forget this. Things have got to change in Austin. We've got to have a changing of the guard because someone needs to open those purse strings of that rainy day fund. A lot of the things that we're talking about could be met with extra funding. Extra people in the room when you've got 35 kids.
It's not always funding is part of it, but y'all have to, and I recommend
Qualified people.
Exactly.
and not even that. So when you go to Austin, and I experienced this, people are lying. The superintendents are lying, the principals are lying to their supervisors, the teachers are lying to the principals. There's no real conversations about what is needed at the school. When they had superintendents go before the House Public Education Committee, and I don't really care for Brad Buckley, but at the end of the day, he did tell them something real. He said, you all are up here, open your mouth and tell us what you need.
Right.
You shouldn't have to do that. But see, the superintendents go to Austin and lie. Oh, everything's great. And I got to the table because you speak in fours.
Right.
And I said, I witnessed these people. They are the problem.
Right.
The school, the administration they're the problem. And that's why for me, when I win my seat, I want to bring in teacher powered schools because I believe it's time for teachers to be at the helm. We don't need a principal. Some schools may need it, but We know that Teacher Power School as a reform model works because they have them in the Northeast, and it's time for teachers to be at the helm and make some decisions.
Well, Michelle, I think that's a lofty goal and an excellent one. But you know what? I think we're gonna have a hard time of convincing anybody in Texas that that's the well, but you know what? But you gotta be willing to stand up and stand toe to
As
toe.
many federal
That's right.
schools that are trying to fail, we can get
There you
one.
go. Yeah, there you go. There you go. That's absolutely right.
I mean, they can't do no worse than what they doing now.
Yeah, that's the truth. But Rebecca Williams, Mary Grimes, Michelle Williams, I want to thank all of you for coming on tonight to share your perspectives and to give us insight into what we can expect um, uh, in District 127 in the coming year when Michelle Williams is triumphant, and when I am triumphant in District 131. Yes, and also, Mary, to come on and to really just be candid about what you've seen, what you've experienced, and what needs to happen. A lot of people aren't going to do that because you may be out there very soon looking for a different position. And a lot of people want to keep that mouth closed because they don't want to, upset the parties that be. And that's one thing that I have heard before, people not wanting to speak the truth because they don't want to upset the parties that are in power right now.
While you hurting children in the process.
Yeah.
See, that's the part because
Yeah.
my child comes first. Period.
That's right.
Period. And if I'm saying that as a parent, I'm sure every parent
Feels
who are
that same.
concerned
That's right.
about their kids, who really wanted to have kids. I prayed for my child,
Yes,
and I got her.
that's right.
I'm doing everything I can.
That's right.
So yeah.
Michelle, give our watchers and the people who are going to be watching later a way to contact you and your website for your campaign. How can they contribute? How can they learn more about you?
So you can find me at michelleforstaterep.com. Real simple, michelleforstaterep.com. There's a donation button there. My website is simple because I wanted people to see me as a real candidate. I'm a real
Right.
person. I the same way I am as a union president. I'm very accessible. Everybody know that, but
Yes.
Very honest. I
yes,
appreciate that.
very honest. I try not to be brutally honest. I'm still a work in progress. And
She shoots from the hip. Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
but you can donate, find out more about me, and if you would like to volunteer, please sign up as a volunteer and follow my story. And I am ready to jump in this and give these Republicans a run for their money because I believe that we can change just 1, 2, 3 people at a time.
Absolutely.
And we can change and take back the House in 2026.
And I will say this, as far as I'm concerned, I am a current teacher. I'm a boots on the ground, current teacher, classroom teacher. I left my classroom about 3.5 hours ago. And I see from standing in the shoes every day of a classroom teacher what we need, what is needed, what is lacking. And I see people, teachers like myself, trying to work very hard. There are good teachers out there. There are teachers who care. Some teachers are out there who are floundering and who could be very good teachers. Many of them are lacking support. You know, if you are a teacher, mentor another. If you're a veteran, mentor another teacher. You know, in District 131, it's one of the older districts in the city. But there are many things that are good about the district. It is growing in leaps and bounds. Some infrastructure issues, like there are all over the city. We got lots of issues with the roads. We've got lots of issues with flooding, but that's going to be a combination of state and local and some national entities working together to get that resolved. If cities can build and grow these beautiful technical developments we can solve a flooding issue. Okay? Is climate change real? Yes, it is. If we don't believe it is, we need to start looking again, because we've got to address these issues toe to toe, head on, just like they are, just like they're coming to us. I want to say this. I am going to be segueing my platform onto YouTube. So you can find me at Crystal Loves Texas on YouTube, Crystal Loves Texas. It's been there for some years, but I would love your likes on my YouTube channel. We are still going to remain on Facebook, but our main platform is going to be on YouTube and Instagram and also TikTok. But find us now and like us on Crystal Loves Texas. I'm an open book. I've had my podcast for the last 4 years. You can look and see exactly where I am, where I stand on all these issues, the kinds of things I care about. If you want to see that, it's documented. I haven't pulled anything off of YouTube. It's there for you to see. Am I perfect? No. But I am a person who works hard. I will get out there with you and work as hard as I need to. I am a worker. I am a worker bee. I've never tried to go into administration in my job, because I feel that my strong point is with those students who I am constantly building relationships with, those students, so that they trust me and they want to perform and do well for me. But please like me on Facebook, go over to YouTube
Subscribe.
and subscribe. Thank you, Mary. Thank you, Mary. And subscribe to my channel on YouTube. And we will see you next week. And as we say every week, ladies and gentlemen, we can do it.
Bye, guys.
See you later.